لكن رح نبلش بالمقابلة يلي صارت عبر سكايب مع سيدة أفغانستان الأولى رولا غاني، بتحاورها مراسلة الأخبار السابقة بالLBCI تانيا مهنا لو سمحتوا.
Cela fait plus de 3 ans que Roula Bibi Ghani est devenue la première dame d'Afghanistan. Durant ces 3 années, un grand nombre de groupes de femmes afghanes et de jeunes sont venus lui rendre visite et ont partagé avec elle leurs soucis et leurs aspirations. En réponse à leurs demandes, son bureau a joué un rôle essentiel dans la création de la Fondation afghane pour le cancer, le développement d'une campagne de mobilisation contre l'usage de la drogue, l'établissement de centres de réhabilitation pour les drogués, qu'ils soient hommes, femmes ou enfants, la gestion de l'examen des dossiers de toutes les femmes emprisonnées, la supervision des orphelinats de Kaboul, l'aide apportée aux réfugiés internes et à ceux qui rentrent d'exil, la formation d'une chambre de commerce pour les femmes afghanes et l'appui à toute organisation de jeunes dans leurs efforts respectifs pour participer à la reconstruction de leur pays. Tout récemment, en mai 2017, son bureau organisait un symposium intitulé « Femmes afghanes, messagères de paix » pour plus de 300 femmes afghanes venues de Kaboul et des 4 coins du pays. Dans un premier temps, les participantes ont assisté à un débat entre les membres de plusieurs tables rondes successives. Puis, le jour suivant, elles ont suivi une formation à la résolution des conflits, pour finalement se répartir en 9 groupes de travail et discuter entre elles des modalités pratiques de leur engagement éventuel au rétablissement d'une société civile paisible et accueillante.
Mrs. Rulagani Bibigul, in 2014, Afghanistan elected a new president and discovered that it also had, for the first time in 40 years, a first lady that was willing to play this role. Was it something that you agreed with your husband before, or you were just thrown into adapting to a new situation for you?
In his inauguration speech, he did mention me, and he had said, I will be mentioning you in my inauguration. And I thought, you know, he will just say, oh, and my wife is here, and she will be here. But actually what he said, he not only introduced me, but he also said, and expect her to be very active, especially with the returnees and the people who are not the IPD, the internally displaced people. And so he did immediately tell the people that I will be active socially, on social issues and on issues of people who really need help. And so that was it, yes.
The thing that is a little bit out of the standards in Afghanistan, where sometimes we don't pronounce women's names,
yes,
or women are not known, that the first time a president is talking about his wife,
yes,
he's giving her a face, he's giving her a role also. So was it something that was really revolutionary for Afghanistan, or there was something there that at least came up to the surface for other people to be able to follow it also?
In the present situation, it was something that was revolutionary. For me, myself, it was not revolutionary. I mean, this is how we've always interacted, my husband and I. We respect each other, and we kind of try to help each other or to kind of support each other. But you have to remember the context. The administration that was just before us came right after the Taliban. And during the Taliban time, women were not even allowed to be on the streets on their own. They were beaten with sticks and all that if ever they were walking on the streets all by themselves. They always needed a male companion, even if it was a little boy of 6 or 7 years old. So yes, it was unusual. I did not realize how unusual it was. But people after that, women came to me and said, you cannot imagine the impact it has made on us, because we said, oh, finally, a husband who's recognizing his wife. Now my husband can recognize me.
Talking about the role of the First Lady and this
Yeah.
office that you opened, what is it doing today? Can you say that it's been contributing to changing something in the life of the Afghan woman in general?
Apparently. When I first came, I did not have an agenda. I didn't know what a First Lady does, and nobody else around me could tell me what an official role I could lead. So I went very slowly at first, and the only thing that I did is that to announce that I had an open doors policy. Because of security, I'm not really encouraged to move too much outside the palace. And so when I announced this policy of open doors, I was flooded by groups of women especially, but groups of people from all corners of the country who are very eager to get to know who is that new First Lady. And also, before us, I think very few people had the privilege of coming on the palace grounds. So for them, it was also a way of coming and seeing what the palace looks like. And I remember in one of the first meetings I had, one of those rural women told me that, oh yeah, I have an aunt who had come and had tea at the palace some 40 years ago. And she keeps, each time the family gets together, she keeps telling us the story. Now I will have my stories to tell when the family will get together. So I was a little bit like the new kid on the block, and they came to see me and to see what I was. And there had been during the campaign a lot of, virtual facts and wrong information circulated, and they wanted to see for themselves what was true and what was not. And then when they came, I love seeing people, I love talking with people. So usually they leave here having enjoyed their time and having had the time to talk about what worries them. So this brings to what kind of effect I may have had on the women, is that suddenly they have a place they can go and talk about what worries them, what hopes they have, what concerns they have. And that was new. That was really something new, because other First Ladies before me may have had some official appearances, but they were not available to sit down and talk with the common man and the common woman. So I think in the first step it was a little bit therapeutic. They could come and talk about whatever they want, and I would talk back, and we would have long conversations. Then slowly I started seeing I could see patterns, what were their problems. And so I started asking questions as to how we could solve their problems. Because I believe I don't have the solutions. I don't know their conditions of life. I know a little bit about it, but I'm not living in their home. I'm not living in their village or in their town. I don't know what their constraints are. I don't know what their real problems are. So they are the ones who have to find their solutions. But I can encourage them and I can make them talk. And often they would feel better because they would say, oh, okay, let me go and try this. So basically, I think next to the therapeutic thing, I think it was much more like an encouragement. It seems like I validated their concerns. That they are right to be able to worry about the system of education, about the medical services, about transportation, about these things of everyday life. And so from there were sometimes my office organizes some events. As I said, my office now, we're about 10 to 11 people. And we invite some women. We try always to bring new faces, not always the same people to come and see. And to kind of help them get to know each other, network, but also to kind of help them feel that, yes, in society they have a place, they have their own event.
From what I feel and sense from your words, that in the end, your perception of the Afghan woman, it's not that there are these helpless women that have no appearance, that don't know what they want, that they need to be assisted all the time. What you're giving here is a description of women who are really exceptional and know exactly what they want, despite the conditions that might be very harsh around them.
Actually, this is one of the things that disturbed me a lot when I first started this period of my life, is that I felt that the narrative, especially the international narrative, was that Afghan women were helpless, that they were isolated, and that they were very weak, and that they didn't know what to do. And my knowledge of the women in my husband's family was totally different from that. They were strong women. Some of them became professional. Others elected to stay home. But they were all very highly regarded in the family, very respected. And they were, they were having a say in their lives of their own lives, but also the lives of their children, of the family. They were active participants. Of course, my knowledge was very vivid because my husband and I had left just before the civil war in Afghanistan to go for a PhD in the States. And so I remembered the way Afghanistan used to be. And when I came back, I found an Afghanistan that was really very different, very torn up. The society was, you walk in the street, you don't see anyone you know. This was one of my husband's aunt who had stayed throughout. She would tell me now, when I would go down to the market, I would see at least 20 people I would talk with, now I go down, I come back, I don't see one face I really recognized. So there had been a lot of changes in demography. Some people had left the country. Some people from the rural areas had come to stay in the cities. And also bits of families and Lebanese people will recognize that during civil war, some decide to go abroad, some decide to live in a different province of the country. There are a lot of changes, and they adapt and they keep changing. So it was, I felt that women in all this had lost their anchor, because their anchor really was the family, the extended family. They were very important within the family. And when the extended family breaks down, and it gets to be very difficult for the woman to assert herself, because she has always worked within the family. So basically what was really good after 2001, 2002, is that the families started to reconstitute themselves. And so some of the progress is not due to me, but to the fact that families came back and women started to be more, know what their role in society was. But still, they were not as respected as they were before. And maybe what I encourage them is to regain that respect and to try and assert themselves, not necessarily aggressively, but to make sure that people appreciate what they're doing. Because if a woman is not there to run the family, even if it's an extended family and you need several women for that, if women are not there, the family falls apart. We are the ones who keep things going, and so I pushed for that especially. And then I decided to also, when I speak publicly, to encourage women that they are important, that their contribution to society is important. And when I have done a few trips abroad, I then do speak about the strength of the Afghan women. And I think there I may have had some impact in terms of changing the narrative, that people don't look at Afghan women now as if they were totally helpless.
One of the things that is quite interesting and that you've done is encouraging these women also to have economic autonomy.
That is really true. It's extremely important because unfortunately up till today, economists have not found a way to monetize the work of women at home. So a woman who stays home, actually in the eyes of an economist, her contribution to the economy of the country is zero, which is totally untrue. But this goes also, it applies because in the economy they don't take account of the contribution of women that are staying at home. Then the men also feel, okay, you know, they take it for granted the woman stays home and does all these things. This has no value. When the woman starts having an income of her own, like maybe she's doing some embroidery, or maybe she does little cookies and sells them, have the corner shop sell those cookies. Or maybe she is a hairdresser, and when there are weddings, the bride and the bridesmaid and the mother of the bride and the mother of the groom might come and they all have their hair done. So she gets to have a little bit of income. Then she is using that income within the household and it makes a difference. Then people say, oh, she's earning money, so she's becoming important. So I encourage them to have activities that will bring an income. But I leave it to them whether they want this activity to be within the house or to be outside, to go and work in an office or in a shop or something like that.
Mrs. Roulaghani, when we hear you talk, it seems that you are going to run in the elections, next coming election in this legislative year.
No, not at all. I try to stay away from politics for several reasons. When I first became First Lady, there were already a very good number of women in the parliament that were extremely vocal and extremely articulate, and they didn't need any encouragement, any further encouragement. So I decided to concentrate on more on the people who really need help, the vulnerable people. And among them, it's basically women, 70% at least of them are women. So these are the people I really work for. And I can't really do much, but what I can do, I can listen to them, I can try and facilitate whatever problem they have through my advisors who can make phone calls and try and figure out a legal way of resolving their problems. And then I can advocate. But apart from that, as I told you, I have no budget, so I definitely cannot run for elections.
27% of the parliamentarians in Afghanistan are women.
Yes.
Despite the fact that in the constitution there is a quota of 20%. Do you see this trend evolving? Do you see in the upcoming elections that we hope to have this year that this is going to be the same number of women running for the parliament, or even more now that they feel more engaged into their society?
Actually, as you mentioned, 20% of the seats are already dedicated to women. The additional things are women who have already had some exposure and have done well, and people want them to come back as their deputies. And I really cannot tell, because this parliament has been now in power for, I think, over 8 years. And so there has not been really a check to see whether people are happy with them or not. And these coming elections are going to be very interesting from that point of view, because it might be a check on how popular they are.
Well, this is one point in common between your adopted country and your country of birth, Lebanon and Afghanistan. Parliaments that stay for a long time, that renew for themselves, and both of the countries have a challenge this year, which is legislative election. What is your advice for a Lebanese woman who never reached that kind of quota in the Lebanese parliament, despite being more liberal than Afghanistan?
Well, my advice is that if ever they really feel moved to work in the political field, they should go and do it. And they should do it seriously. They should not just kind of nitpick here and nitpick there. Rights are not granted. Rights are taken. They need to work for it. And if ever there are some women who really want to raise the voices of all women, I would encourage them. I would be very, very proud of them.
Well, one thing you talk about these exceptional women in different parts of Afghanistan, and you encourage those that are like this in Lebanon to do the same. But you have been exceptional yourself in your life. You had a very uncommon life. You, in the 70s, as a Lebanese, you married an Afghan.
I must say that customs in Lebanon and in Afghanistan are very much the same. Maybe Lebanon was a little more sophisticated in terms of being more aware of Western habits and Western fashions. But my father insisted on coming and visiting the family before we got married. And that was really made the whole difference. So I came with my father the first time, and we met the family. And my father was a really nice man, so they really liked him, and they liked me. A little bit because my husband at the time was considered like a very difficult person to live with, and so they were very pleased that finally he had found somebody to marry. But the other factor that really helped my integration was that I knew Arabic. And Arabic is the language of the Holy Quran. And so the children would come and say, "Did you hear her talk? She's talking like the Quran." And so that was, again, a very big factor. And as I mentioned, the third thing is that a lot of the customs are very similar. I remember early on, I was we hadn't been married more than 2 or 3 months, and a family came to visit. And as I said, at that time, it was really family time. And it was a mother, her son, and his German wife, and their daughter, and her daughter. And the German young woman, who must have been married for a couple of years at least, because they had the little boy who was running around. She came to me and she said, "How are you managing? I can't understand my mother-in-law." And her problem with her mother-in-law is that when they sat at the table, the mother-in-law kept telling her, "Why don't you have some of this? Why don't you have some of that?" And she would say no, and she would expect the mother-in-law to stop. And no, the mother-in-law would do it another time and a third time. And it's really very much like that we do it in Lebanon. So for me, it was not a problem. And I explained to her that it was actually a sign of respecting her that they were doing. It was not to annoy her that she kept telling her, "Please have some of this, please have some of that." So my integration was quite quick. The fourth thing was that Persian has, Dari at least, the kind of Persian we speak in Afghanistan, has a lot of vocabulary that's similar to the Arabic vocabulary. So once you learn the grammar, it's very easy to start talking.
Today, you feel you are more Afghan, more Lebanese, or more American for the 30 years that you lived in the States?
Well, in the words of Amin Malouf, not his exact words, but in the words, in the theme that he develops in his book on identity and violence, I embrace all my identities. And maybe, given the circumstances, I might be more Afghan in Afghanistan, Lebanese in Lebanon, American in America. But it's really, I feel I am the sum of my identities. I embrace them all and I accept them all. And I take the best in each one. And I try to live by it.
Bibi Gul, thank you.
Thank you.
رح نكمل البرنامج مع الجلسة أو مع الحوار يلي رح بيكون معكم مباشرة عبر سكايب مع السيدة غاني.
بونجور مدام رولا غاني، عم تسمعينا؟
ايه اكيد بسمعكم.
يا اهلا وسهلا، هلا بده يزقفوا لك
يا هلا فيكم.
نحن كتير 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 فرحين انك معنا اليوم. بعرف ما قدرت تجي ان بيرسون تكوني معنا، بس عبر سكايب، وهلا استمتعنا بالمقابله يلي اجرتها ايضا صديقتي وزميلتي بالال بي سي الايام اللي قضيناها سوا، تانيا مهنا يلي هي زوجة السفير الايطالي كمان حاليا بافغانستان. شو السر عن وجود المرأة اللبنانية بافغانستان؟ يعني سمعنا المقابله بس اقتحمتوا الساحه وفرضتوا نفسكم. اهلا وسهلا فيكي.
اهلا فيكي.
اوكي، رح اترك المجال هلا ست رولا للببليك ليطرحوا عليك السؤالات مثل ما اتفقنا في حوالي ربع ساعة 20 minutes Q&A with the audience. وهلا ما بعرف مين بحب يبلش بطرح الأسئلة.
نبدأ مع أول سؤال.
Good morning.
Good morning.
أنا سؤالي English or Arabic?
English, Arabic or French? Nothing.
Or French. أول شيء بدي أتشكرك كثير على هالمقابلة الشيقة. يعني كلنا كنا كثير كلنا سمع مستمتعين بكل كلمة كنت عم بتقوليها وبالمعلومات اللي أعطيتينا إياها. أنا سؤالي هو قد ايه عم بيكون اذا بدنا نقول المجتمع الذكوري يعني قد ايه عم بيكون هو متقبل لفكره شوي هالانفتاح للعنصر النسائي بافغانستان، وقد ايه النساء هن بحد ذاتهم عم بيكون عندهم الشجاعه انه يمشوا مع هالانفتاح اللي حضرتك مهدتي لهم اياه.
اوكي، يمكن رح جاوبك بالانجليزي لانه صار لي زمان ما حكيت عربي. بس the importance that we have here is that we are opening the door for the women, and the Afghan women are very courageous. They have they're very persistent. They're hardworking, and once they're given the opportunity, they just do it themselves. I don't do much. All I do is just I open the door for them and I encourage them. And it's not only just me. My husband also is very much for giving the women a place in society, and for not necessarily giving it to them, but allowing them the opportunity to be very active in society. So I did not think I will be that influential, and I'm not influential because of me. I'm influential because the Afghan women do all the work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
شخصي. How did you meet your husband?
It's a very the normal way. I met him at university. We were both students at the American University at AMP.
AUB. And did you have any cultural shock when you went back to Afghanistan compared to
No.
Lebanon?
Not at all, not at all. You would be surprised how similar the two countries are. Not only, I'm not talking about nowadays and the problems both countries share. I'm talking about the culture. It was maybe not as cosmopolitan as Lebanon was, but it is the same, it's definitely the same cultural rules, the same cultural behaviors. It's not difficult at all to live in Afghanistan.
ام حال اسفندیاری سلام انشالله حالتون خوبه. What do you think is going to be your main challenge regarding women's rights and gender issues in the coming years in Afghanistan, given the current situation?
I happen to be very optimistic. I don't think in terms of what obstacles are going to come, but more as what opportunities will be coming. And there is a sentence I read one day in a magazine that stayed with me. It says, if you look at the road, if you only look at the obstacles, you never see where the road is going. You should not look at the obstacles and carry on the road. And that's what we're doing here. So I don't think, I'm sure there will be some problems, I'm sure there will be some challenges, but I'm very confident that the Afghan women will figure out the solutions.
في عنا سؤال هون.
صباح الخير، اهلا وسهلا فيك بلبنان. نحن بنعتبر انه حضرتك معنا هلا وعنا ونحن بنفتخر فيك ونتمنى انه يطلع عنا برعم بلبنان مثل حضرتك، يعني ان شاء الله كلنا ناخذ طريقك. بس بدي من حضرتك تعطيني شو رأيك كيف بدنا نخلي الدولة اللبنانية تاخذ السيدة اللبنانية على محمل الجد، انه بتقدر هي تخوض المعترك السياسي وبتقدر تمثل مثل الرجال البلدة برات لبنان وتكون النائبة الفعالة بالبرلمان ولا وزيرة فعالة كمان، لأنه كتير تمثيلنا قليل. شو هي النصيحة اللي بتعطينا إياها إلنا تنخوض هالمعترك بقوة وللدولة اللبنانية؟ ومرسي.
بفكر إن أول شيء لازم تكونوا جدين. You see, I was speaking, when I speak in Arabic, I end up speaking in Dari. So shall I speak in French maybe?
No, you can speak in English. We have translators, interpreters here in Lebanon. Don't worry about it. You speak whatever language you feel like.
Wonderful. You have to take your role seriously. And you really you have to want to make changes. You cannot do it, like be on the weekend do it, or maybe do it one day a week or so. No, it is a commitment. And I think that we have here in front of us Maishidia, who's showing the commitment. And is showing that you really have to be dedicated to what you think. People will not take you seriously unless you take yourself seriously. And the second thing I would say, there's a lot of strength in unity. Women should unite. Women should really help each other. You should organize yourself into groups. You should, according to whatever cause you are pushing for, and you should be persistent. The third advice I would give is never be aggressive. You can do a lot with a lot of calm and firmness without being aggressive. I remember my mother used to say, مع الصبر يلين لك الحديد. So you have to be patient and you have to keep going. My luck is that I have
an ally in my husband. And so that means that there is political will at the head of the state, political will to make space for the women. When you elect people at the parliament, I understand you're going to have elections. Think about it. Think who is going to be listening to you and who is not. Who is treating his wife well and who is not. Who is encouraging his daughter to work or to do something that comes into her potential and who is not. This might be an easy criteria for you to decide who you want to have as a deputy. So I think it's not an easy thing. I am lucky to have my husband, but it is something that is doable.
Thank you. Thank you for what you just said. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the compliment. And I want to ask you a question regarding the perception that we had for so many years ago when we used to cover as journalists news concerning Afghanistan. We used to see women wearing this long dress, the veil, the blue one with a net covering the eyes. Nothing was showing from the person called the woman. And for so long, they were forbidden from any being in any mixing place with men. So, and then all of a sudden, after Taliban failed, we witnessed a new era in Afghanistan, and with President Ashraf Ghani, and with you named as First Lady. And I think you changed your name to from Rula to an Afghani name. And for the first time, we have the role of a First Lady in Afghanistan. How can we erase from our back mind the idea that that is a little bit retrograde about women in Afghanistan, and what we see here? Okay, we just saw a few minutes ago in the report, two women very emancipated speaking together. Both of them are originally Lebanese, you and Tanya. So now, but you are the best proof that things are changing in Afghanistan. What can you tell us about that?
Okay, first of all, the assumption is a little bit skewed. You have to remember from the 1919 till 1975, Afghanistan was very much like Lebanon. They were, yes, some people wear this robe, this blue robe is called chaderi, and some people used to wear the chaderi, but that was mostly the provincial women. When they would come to town, they would wear the chaderi. My mother-in-law never wore the chaderi. She didn't even have a scarf on her head. It's not that it was something, what is happening now is something new. It's more a reversal to what Afghanistan used to be in the 60s and the 70s. With all due respect to all journalists, and I am a trained journalist at first, I think they didn't get Afghanistan right when they started writing on it. I think journalists today are much more interested in the sensational, and they kept saying that the country was in the Stone Age, and that the foreign troops were going to kind of get them out of the Stone Age. Well, you know, it was not at all that. I wish I could ask my friend here to speak to you. She grew up during that time, and at the time she was even elected Miss Afghanistan in '72. So I mean, it gives you an idea that Afghan women were not what it said. What happened is that the Taliban, yes, have come with a way of looking at the precepts of Islam that were very much influenced by the Deobandis and the Wahhabis. And in there, like in Saudi Arabia, in that kind of conception, women don't really have much of a place in the public sphere, which was not at all the case before in Afghanistan. They imposed that on Afghanistan, but the rule was only 5 to 10 years. So why should we stick to those 5 and 10 years? We are trying to revert back to, more importantly than the way we look. And for example, I do wear the veil, the scarf. I think this is neither here nor there. It's like fashion changes every 2-3 years. Wherever in the world. And here the fashion is to wear a scarf, you wear a scarf. And as a respect for my co-citizens, I wear the scarf. What is more important is during the years of war, and I think in Lebanon we had 17 years, in Afghanistan it was 23 years. During the years of war, society breaks down, family gets separated, it's no longer a very cohesive community, and for some reason women lose a lot of their importance, because the women are first and foremost very important in the family. They are the mothers, they are the wives, they are the ones who really carry the family on their shoulder. As a result, respect for the woman is lost. And this is what I find more worrisome. And this is what, when I'm asked usually that, what would you like to happen at the end of the 5 years of your mandate? And I usually say, I hope that women will be more respected. Because women are human beings. They are not supposed to be put in the corner. They're not supposed to be insulted. They're not supposed to be abused. Women are human beings like any other human beings. They need to be respected. And I think that's the most important thing that we need to regain. And we are slowly regaining it. There are some women that are really managing to impose themselves now. But we still have a long way to go still.
Thank you. نسرين بفتكر في سؤال.
Hello. I just want to ask, to which extent is your husband supportive of some requests that might be a bit extreme or against his interest? Like, and another question would be like, would you ever do anything that your husband might might not be?
I understand your question.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if you have. I don't know if
No,
you've seen Designated Survivor. It's like his wife. He was the president, and his wife went and asked a favor for a client of hers. She was a lawyer that was against his interest, so she went behind his back and did it. Would this be a case that you might do if ever you were like believing in something, really believing in that might help a woman?
There are two aspects, two questions. I am not under the thumb of my husband. It's not like he's telling me what to do or I tell him what to do. We are two human beings respecting each other, living together and trying to work for this country together. I don't have secrets from my husband, and I don't think he has secrets from me.
That's amazing, but it would be like a favor, asking him for a favor sometimes to use his influence maybe.
No, I don't need, personally, I don't need anything more than what I have. So I don't see what kind of favor I could ask from him. And I think he's doing a good job of what he's doing right now, so I don't need to tell him to do what to do, you know.
That's great. Then best of luck to you both.
Thank you.
سؤال بليز
بونجور مدام.
Bonjour.
برجع إلى السياسة وإلى المرأة بالتحديد.
نعم.
نحن ببلدنا كل 4 سنين بنرجع لنفس المشكلة، المرأة ما عم تقدر توصل للندوة النيابية بسبب إنه لازم تفوت بلايحة، ومعظم اللوائح القوية عم بتكون مشكلة من الأحزاب. شو نصيحتك؟ هل بتنصح المرأة تعمل حزب ديمقراطي غير طائفي ينتمي إليه أيضا الرجال؟ بعدين كل تغيير وإصلاح، تغيير وتطوير يجب أن يكون له إدارة، management of change and management of development. ثم المجتمع المدني عندنا كل اللي عم بيتقدموا عندهم كفاءات عظيمة جدا، ما حدا عمال ما عم بيقدروا يوصلوا. كمان شو نصيحتك لهم؟ لأنه أنا برأيي الشخصي باللي عم براقبه اللي سنوات عدة وعامل دراسات مفصلة بهالمواضيع هاي، بحس إنه منهم موحدين.
نعم.
ما عم بيتوحدوا.
شكرا. وصلت
شو
الرسالة.
نصيحتك لهم؟
ما بعرف اذا هالشأن الداخلي بتقدر تجاوب عليه السيدة غاني. رح ننتقل بعد عن سؤالين سريعين لو سمحتوا. تفضلي.
ما بتحبوا انه تجاوبوا شوي؟ اوكي. Yes, I think it's the system in Lebanon is not a very democratic system. You realize that you are it's only the deputies that are voting for the president. Here in Afghanistan, it's one vote, one person, one vote. Everybody votes for the president. So there are a lot of things that need to be changed. My advice is to start small. Start with small community projects. Become important in your community so that people will think, okay, this person speaks for me. A deputy is a representative of people. So the deputy needs to understand what the people need. And I'm sure that if ever we start listening to what the people have to say and listening to what are their problems, then the people will vote for them. The idea of a party made by women and led by women, why not? I'm not going to say whether or not it will be successful, but we'll only know if ever you try. So what I'm saying is that do it seriously and you might get results. It might not be exactly the results you want, but it might be a result and a progress anyway.
Thank you. بعد رح ناخذ آخر سؤال لأنه شوي استطردنا.
سؤالي هو حضرتك سيدة أولى بأفغانستان، كيف بتلاقي أحسن طريقة أو شو مشاريعك المستقبلية كرمال تنحسن دور المرأة إن كان بالحياة السياسية أو بالمجتمع، خصوصا النيو جينيريشن، يعني الصبايا اللي مثلا عمرهم 18 و20، كيف أنا نخليهم انه يتحمسوا يفوتوا هن مثلا بالشأن العام وبالسياسة، كيف معقول نحسن دورهم بالحياة السياسية أو بالمجتمع؟
I think that if you want young people to be involved, you have to encourage them to get involved. You have to find things that are important for them. I don't know what it might be. It might be maybe their schools are not good and they want to improve their schools, or it might be they don't have transport for the young people, or I don't know. They have to find their own goals. Here I find in Afghanistan the young generation is very, very, very involved. They feel that this is a time that is important. It's an opportunity they should not miss. And I have group after group of people, young people. I have to share with you an anecdote. I usually, and so I said, no, I said, I'm not saying it right. I thought muta'allim would be a scholar. So I said, so what is your specialty? He said, nothing, I'm just a muta'allim. And then afterwards, when I asked when they left, I said, what is a muta'allim in Dari? Muta'allim means a high school student. Anyway, they came to see me and they come and they have ideas. They have ideas of nothing. Like, for example, a group came and said they wanted to work for the violence against women. And their idea was they were going to get little booklets from the Ministry of Justice that has the law that says that it is a crime and that it will be punished and all this. And their idea was, can you please help us and talk to the head of the university so that he can allow us to use the auditorium twice. One time so that we can talk about the law and we can distribute the booklets and then tell them we're going to have an exam 2 weeks later, and whoever gets to be the 20 best answers will get an award. And this is what they did, to be able to explain to other students what it is, what is the law against violence against women. They created that device. All I had to do is make a phone call to tell the head of the university, please allow them to use the auditorium. But this is a cause they felt was important for them and they wanted to do it for it. So the idea is to find things that listen to them, find out what are the problems they're facing. Maybe it is drugs, maybe it is, I don't know, whatever it can be. I know what the problems are here in Afghanistan now. Because the young people have become very adept at expressing themselves. And I hope this will happen in Lebanon too.
Thank you.
So is this the end of the talk now?
نحن رح منوقف الأسئلة. بدي أعتذر من الكل لأنه ما بفتكر بعد عنا. بدنا نشكرها على مشاركتها، طبعا خبرتها معنا.
إيه. مدام رولا غاني، بدنا نشكرك من قلبنا على مشاركتك معنا، وبس بدي شوف إذا في عندك كلمة نهائية بتحبي توجهيها للببليك هون الموجود معنا، ومن خلال الببليك موجود معنا لكل اللي عم يتسمعوا علينا عبر السوشيال ميديا بشكل مباشر عبر الستريمينج اليوم. Your last word.
Yes. In conclusion, what I would like to say, there is no impossible situation. Every situation has a solution. We just have to take it slowly, and you have to take it bits by bits, and maybe before starting in politics, start with the social and the economic. Some people, it's very important for them to be able to have enough food for their families and for their children. I'm sure that if you put your heart into it, you'll manage to do a lot. And I will be very proud if I hear that something is happening. Thank you.